Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Uncharted 3 brutal difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 8, it's called the Citadel, and it's probably the first really difficult mission of the game. I would compare this to the, is it chapter 4 from Uncharted 2? With the horrible checkpoint of doom area. It's kind of reminiscent of that because it's the first moment that's going to test you, and I do think that there are moments in these games which will dictate whether or not you have what it takes to do brutal. Everybody's going to have different moments for these, but I think that this is the first one that a lot of people will have. Because not only does this have a sequence of challenging fights, a couple of stealth parts, and a couple of big battles that are borderline unfair with a certain way they work, but we'll discuss much of that later. But it's constant in its challenge, this level. It's gunfight, 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 and then there's about 2 sections where the difficulty really gets going, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this is tough. But this first one, I have a really good elevated position, so I'm just going to lay down hellfire on everybody below me, and I'm going to use my aiming and this cover spot to just put some damage on people, and they're going to try and make their way towards me, and they might even throw grenades. You'll notice the enemies in this game, they move around a lot. They duck, they bob, they weave. Even when they're in cover, they're always fidgeting. It's intentional to make it difficult to get those clean headshots. And here comes the grenade. So the grenades have a sweet spot. Did you see that bar on it? If you can stop that red meter inside the white of it with triangle, you'll get essentially an active grenade toss where you'll throw it back. If you do it in any other area, you won't, and you'll put yourself in danger. The reason it's not a great strategy to rely on enemies' grenades is because the sweet spot moves. There's no one universal way of doing it. If you're good at reacting to it and you're good at doing it, that's awesome because you're going to have an advantage when it comes to explosives because you're going to be able to use your enemies against them. But there are moments where the explosives will stack up. There are moments where you'll make a mistake and it puts you in some really difficult situations. And the main reason why it's so taxing is if you mess it up, grenades do this awful effect where unless they kill you, which is actually sometimes a lot better, they knock you into a standing state where you don't even have to physically be standing, but you're classed as standing. It's a little bit like in a fighting game. If you've ever been hit with a move that forces you to stand, even if you're crouched, so they can do some other specific move that only works on standing opponents, it's a bit like that. So you'll get these moments where you'll get knocked into this funny animation. You'll look like you're still in cover, and you'll die, because people could hit you. So it seems to put you into this sensitive, vulnerable state where enemies can take advantage of you. And it must be 1 in 10 chances of surviving when you get knocked into that state, because you just never come out of it unscathed, and the moment you do, you're generally stunned, because every other time you got murked. And I'm talking enemies shooting you through cover. It almost seems like they couldn't physically touch you and they still hit you. And there's only one part of the game where I had any problem with enemies shooting me in cover, and that was those motorcycle guys on the caravan, because for whatever reason, if it's the geometry, if it's the way it lines up, but they can shoot you when you're in cover. It's kind of shitty, but at least it's just one section and not the entire game, like Uncharted 4 was. But we're coming up now on an interesting pugilist moment, because it's definitely not stealth. Jump onto the bucket. Go down, and then once you're down here, we're going to break the first guy's neck, we're going to try and break the second guy's neck, and then we're going to probably punch the third guy.
Anything down there? Give me a sec.
But earlier on the walkthrough, I said that I think that this is easier than Uncharted 4 and Crushing, and some people might think that that's kind of crazy, and they might not agree with that. The reason I say it is Uncharted 4 takes cover away from you. The hardest parts of Uncharted 4 are the parts where the cover's not great, or are parts when there is no cover, and it becomes really difficult. And at that point, it doesn't matter if you die in 5 bullets rather than 1 or 2, you know, because it's still really difficult. And in this game, at almost no moment, except for very specific douchey parts, are you ever out of cover. You always have positions of security that can be used skillfully to win. And there were parts of Uncharted 4 where you just didn't feel safe in cover, and the cover that they gave you, you weren't capable of fighting back from it. And I think that the difference in that is night and day, and that's why I think that game was more taxing than this. Even though you know, objectively, you die faster in this game, so on paper you would think that this game would be harder. And I know a lot of people will think that this game is harder. I'm just going off of the lack of cover and the fact that I was on a section on Uncharted 4, sorry, for about 3 hours, and the longest I got stuck on this was 40 minutes, and I don't know if that's because I'm just better than I was then, but I don't think I am. You know, it's one of those things, once you get to a certain ability level with third-person shooters, I don't really think there's pushing it any higher. There's just perseverance and luck at that point. You can't really play better unless you know you were playing crappy, like your shot was bad, your movement was bad, the way you went from cover to cover, your decisions, your choices, those kind of things. But making bad choices and putting yourself in bad spots is not necessarily, you know, confirmation that you're a bad player. Everybody has those moments where you do something stupid, and sometimes it can really work, and other times it bites you in the dick. But right now, this is another level that's quite dark, so I wish I'd have changed the brightness sooner, but I had no idea it was going to look this dark. This is the big stealth section, and this is pretty easy to get a good run of, but at the end, it always seems to kick off for me. So I break the first guy's neck, I drag this guy over the cover and give him an old windpipe chop, and then there's going to be another dude who moves onto the corner of this walkway. The moment he turns around, we're going to break his neck, and then we're going to go for the next guy and then the guy to his left. Once you've done that, you're going to trigger 2 people to come from that corridor, and the 2 people on the corridor are the ones that I generally shoot, because once you get to that point, you've done the fight anyway. But get this dude, snap his neck, make sure that you pick up guns that you like or you want, just in case you get screwed here, because if it kicks off, I think the checkpoint is after it's kicked off, which could be annoying, but luckily it never kicked off. So these 2 guys are going to align. As soon as the guy who's in front of us comes within range of pulling over this cover, that's exactly what you want to do. Make sure his buddy's not looking. As soon as his buddy turns away, am I going to get him? No, I'm not. I'm going to wait. Could have got him then. That would have been perfectly fine, and it would have been faster. The more you know, I guess. I'm going to do this, though. Nice chop, big old weird drag, and then we're going to go for his friend. So the only things that seem to make noise on this game, stealth-wise, are rolls and jumps when you're close to the enemy. As long as you don't, do anything like that when you're moving in, you should be fine. That was weird. I was hoping to grab him, and I didn't grab him, but it was quiet, so that's all that matters. And then I want to drop down here, jump across to the left, and then pull this guy out through the ledge, and he's done. And then his buddies are coming now. So I have no doubt you can wait for these 2 guys to spread out, but he sees a body, and at this point, there's no real reason to not shoot my gun, so I use the opportunity, I blow up the canister, and I proceed to pepper this guy. The music kicks up. Can we get him in the face? Oh, that was unfortunate. Be careful here though, guys, they shoot you. Oh, grenade. If you don't know, when the enemies go to throw grenades, if you shoot them, it will interrupt the throw and they'll blow themselves up. It's probably my favourite mechanic that's evident in a lot of the Uncharted games, because it gives you free explosion damage, free AoE, and a free kill. It's really good. It's such clever design, it's very balanced, very fair. It's the only good thing about enemies having unlimited grenades. So I'm going to use this opportunity now to pick up weapons I want to use. I should have probably gone with the Gal, or the one with the scope, but me and the AK have had a lot of success, so apparently at this moment I wanted to pack the AK. I've also put on the micro Uzi because the blind fire is really good. The gun itself, I mentioned on one level that it's really accurate, and then I mentioned on another level through comparison that it's inaccurate. What I meant by that, if it confused you, is the gun is wonderfully accurate if you feathered the trigger. If you shoot that gun though, it just spreads like a motherfucker and it wastes bullets. So it's inherently inaccurate unless you feather it. And if you're not too familiar with the term feathering, I think it comes from racing games. It's when you just lightly press the trigger. You lightly pull the trigger, only once, very quite lightly, without holding it. Because I think that's how you can accelerate around corners in racing games. But I'm not a racing game player. I think that's where it comes from.
Up this way.
So this is really interesting. So I know there's a bunch of dudes up here waiting for me. I know I'm going to use the cover trick to kill them. And I also know there's going to be a heavy that turns up. And the heavy scares me. And he scares me because I'm not back in my Uncharted mindset of, I'm just going to punch him in the face. He's a big bitch. Heavies are easy. Right now, I'm quite fearful of heavies because I'm not back in the swing of things. So I don't know where he is or where he spawns because I can't quite remember. So I'm tentatively moving around the cover, I'm getting clipped, and then I kill him. And as soon as the heavy spawns, I'm going to back up because I wanted to lure him towards me. And then I wait for about 30 seconds and he never comes, and it turns out I think he's dead. I think Sully and everybody killed him. But I didn't see this because he died so fast. So I think that's the heavy. Oh, there's another guy there. You see him try and punch me instead of shoot me? That was lucky. So I push down here to get safe on this bottom of these stairs. I kill him because he's an idiot. And I'm hearing the gunfight. And it ended just then. When I was recording this, I didn't have audio, so I didn't hear that. So I'm looking here. I'm like, is he going to come? Maybe he doesn't come. And then I see Sully. I'm like, oh, okay, that's Sully. So Sully's okay. Sully's not looking too tense. He looks fine. So maybe he's not here. And then I'm going to go up to the top of this room, and I'm going to look around the room. Look, there's a shotgun. For the heavy specifically. It's really good at killing heavies. 2 shots and they generally die if you do it right. But I'm still tentatively, there's Cutter. He's having a good time. He's fine. I'm like, what's going on here? Where's this heavy? And then when I try and get past him, and I finally do, I'm still quite tentative. There's a dead guy there. And you'll notice it's going to give me an ammo refill up here. And I didn't click on at the time that the heavy dropped the shotgun. And the shotgun on the ground is the game's way of telling me that he's dead. So I'm just like, where is this guy gone? I'm looking over here. Nothing. Nothing at all. And then it finally clicks that they must have killed him. Because he's not here. He's either moved or he's spontaneously human combusted, and I don't believe in that. So I'm checking there, and then the rock drops down. I'm like, hang on a second, you jump over that and you're outside, aren't you? So he's done. And then I run around and I'm going to pick up some guns. So, advice number 1, guys. Get the Raffica. The Beretta, the good old Raffica, triple shot, is one of the best games in the gun. Because it's wonderful. No, it's very lethal, and it puts a lot of damage down the lane quickly, and you're going to need it. Because welcome to Bullshit 101. So, once you kill him, aim directly up there, because the next guy's going to turn up. When he turns up, if you're not quick, you're dead. Over there, another guy turns up. If you don't spray this guy down, you're dead. You'll notice I'm using the micro Uzi. I would recommend the Raffica, but beggars can't be choosers if you die. It gives you whatever it gives you. This guy was a troll, but essentially, this is the part that's going to test you whether or not you're able to quickly shoot from cover. Right now, there's 2 people to my left, but I'm going to skip them by quickly jumping across here. And once you get here, you get to the window, you get a checkpoint. Didn't look like much, did it? I died there more times than anything so far. Because I could not believe how fast they could shoot you and how slow I was at shooting back. Because my reticle would not appear. And I had these wonderful moments where I'm aiming and my reticle's not there, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. It's finally there and I'm getting shot. And I was getting really mad. But once again, we'll talk about that more in Abducted, because this is another gunfight. So, use your cover, because it's powerful. Dodge the grenades. Try and get headshots. Maximize ammunition. Listen to the awesome music. And just look how powerful this technique is. So, I spoke out quite openly against Uncharted 4, saying that the fact that this technique wasn't in it made it a lesser game, because it made it awkward unnecessarily so in a lot of circumstances. And some people didn't like that opinion. Some people expressed it in a ways that, so basically because you can't cheat you don't like it. And it's got nothing to do with cheating, which is what I expressed to these people at the time. It has everything to do with a position of power. Video games are essentially that. Video games are, the enemy has a certain measure of power, and you have a certain ability to put yourself in a place that's powerful. If you can't put yourself in a place that's powerful, the enemy has all the power, and I don't like that. I like games to have a measure of balance. And I mentioned in my Uncharted 4 walkthrough that if the enemies couldn't use that trick against you, which they can, it's been proven, it's evident in my walkthrough, people have experienced this, it's just the way the system works. If the enemies couldn't use the cover trick against you like they do, I'd have no issue. Oh, by the way, watch this. I put 2 shots in him then, and it didn't kill him. I wasn't satisfied with this, so I restart, and watch what it does. And he's dead. What the fuck was that? That looks like I've edited it, doesn't it? That's not an edit, guys. That's the way the game is. I reloaded, I shot twice, and I try and do it again because I wasn't happy. And watch what it does. It puts me with everybody here. I'm like, wow. What a wonderful checkpoint. And it's funny, isn't it, that the game gives you a checkpoint after 1 heavy, Yet it doesn't give you a checkpoint on some incredibly difficult sections. Very bizarre, strange balance. But as I was saying, sorry, if the enemies couldn't do it to you and hit you when they physically shouldn't be able to hit you while in cover, then I'd have no issue with it, but they can. And it's the fact that we can't do it to them. You know, they've taken our tools and we've given it to the enemy. That's the main issue I had, that a lot of people that I had discussions with this about seem to not realise that was the thing that bugged me. It wasn't the fact I couldn't do it, it's the fact that they could. And they didn't need help. We needed help. And that's why I really like brutal difficulty, because the game is insanely difficult, but you have fantastic tools to combat it. And the cover trick is one of them. The cover trick is essentially how this game is designed, because shooting people from cover is incredibly dangerous when you die in 2 bullets, which is why, go on YouTube right now, this is interesting too, you can die randomly here by rockets, so be careful. But if you look at an Uncharted 1, 2 or 3 walkthrough of Brutal, you'll notice that whenever people are in cover, unless they have distance or there's not too many enemies, they will often blind fire rather than aiming and firing. And if they do aim, they'll aim incredibly quickly, oftentimes at the compromise of their accuracy, to try and get a few shots off. Because staying out of cover while aiming is dangerous. It can't really be done. We're not fast enough, we're only human, and the AI will just romp you instantly. I could make a litany of moments into a video where I got immediately romped the moment I moved from cover, like burp, dead. Like, we're talking the single frame I was vulnerable, I'm dead, because that's just how great they are, which is why it compels you to do all the things you can do to succeed. Like right now I'm using these Dragonovs, which on this game are called, is it like S75s, which I think might be the number of the Dragonov actually, and I'm shooting these people with rocket launchers. They can kill you with splash damage from this rocket because of the damage of this difficulty. But generally, if you stay back, you're okay. But I did die here a few times. If you watch my shots here, I'm not the best aimer in video games, but I'm okay. And there are moments when I put this aimer on people, and they don't die. And it's a sniper rifle, so, like, I don't get it. That one probably missed. I can concede that. And, you know, I'm not infallible, but I thought this section was really weird, because I was shooting people, and they were still fine. Like, a sniper to the chest? That should be game over, dude. You're just a popcorn enemy. Get lost. But I assume it wants you to do the headshots. I'm messing around with the ammo here, trying to get more. Because there's like 2 rocket launcher dudes left. I don't know if you can zoom any further in either. It's a sniper rifle with a terrible zoom. What a great idea that was. There's one more noise. You notice how Drake makes those massive moany noises when explosions go off? It sounds kind of weird because when you die, you make very similar noises. So there are times when you hear that noise and you're like, what? I didn't die. What's going on here? But this triggers a cutscene. This cutscene is the zipline section. The zipline's going to go tits up and we're going to be with good old Cutter. I don't know if you can die on this next section because I didn't, but I was scared because people shoot at you when you're doing this and there's explosions going off and this is brutal, so you can't trust anything. You know, sometimes you just get bummed. Other times it goes perfectly. But more explosions, more roly-polies. I have no idea how he looks like he has no gravity on him when he rolls there, but I'm glad he does. And then we have a rather large stealth section coming up. So immediately, on my path, I run up this tower and I get rid of this guy on the elevator position. If you're as quick as I am, he will never see you if you flank around the right and break his neck, because he's already in his pattern never changes. Then from him, we're going to take out the people on the lower ground on the right. This pattern is consistent every time, because it all happens the same way from the checkpoint. Couple of things to bear in mind here, guys. If you can get to the door where the cupboard is, press triangle, trigger the cutscene, you will skip the fight that can happen here. If you get seen, the fight will happen. I had footage of both, but I wanted to show the stealth because on my last walkthrough, I did the fight. On this one, I wanted to show you that you can get through it by sneaking past everybody. And I think there's one extra dude in this area to my left at the end who you can also take out, but if you can get to the doorway and press triangle, you're fine anyway. So you can get through it that way. But if the fight does kick off, it's not too bad. There's a lot of people there, but look at it as potential grenade pickups, because you're going to need grenades for the next sequence, which is not skippable. And it's very dangerous too. This is how ballsy you can be, by the way, on Brutal during stealth, as long as you understand how it works. You don't have to treat the game, you know, super Hitman stealth or insert stealth game that can have ridiculous stealth mechanics. You can be rather bold in your movements, which is what I'm doing now. The person I don't kill is in the tower to the right of me here, but if you get to the door quick enough, you don't need to. It must be said, guys, I've had moments when I've done this section where when I went to the door, the triangle prompt wasn't there. If the triangle prompt isn't there, it means you've triggered the fight, I think. And sometimes it's not too obvious that you've triggered fights, because it gets kind of squirrely, but... you see Nathan looking backwards then? Whenever he looks backwards, it means there's a dude. It's the game's way of telling you that there's a guy up there. So that's pretty important. And then there's a dude just to our right here who's blocking the door. We're going to choke him out, then we're going to hit the doorway. And you're going to see a little fade as I trim the cutscene out. And then I'm going to tell you about the best piece of cover you're not going to see me use, because this game is full of shit. And it really bugs me too, because I have the best spot on the planet, but you're never going to get to see it because I can't show you it because I don't use it. It's really frustrating. So when this kicks off at the very beginning, wait till Sully shoots the rocket into that building or it's all going to go nuts. Additionally, just to the right there, there's a sniper on the roof. You want to kill him. Now, a heavy's going to be coming for you, and there's a sniper just over there. Kill that sniper, then look to your left, because on your left, you're going to get flanked by two dickheads who will instantly kill you unless you see them. And they killed me a few times, because I stayed in this piece of cover, which I've never done before. My first walkthrough, I went to the right of me in that alcove. It worked great. The spot that's the best position on the planet is to my left, down there. If you jump down there and you get in that alcove, nothing can touch you. A couple of enemies will come for you, but for the most, it's too good, because the enemies never come to you. The pathing never finds you, the enemies never challenge you, you can stay in that cupboard for the rest of your life and never fight anybody. It's too powerful. And it sucks, because you have to move out of it to get the enemies to do anything. They will not attest you if you go in that room. It's like the best room ever, but it's worthless. And it's so frustrating, because it works beautifully on Crushing, when you move out of cover you don't instantly die. Brutal didn't work, because they just would not come to me. So instead, I wanted to do this, which is a rather aggressive approach of staying exactly where you are. And the reason that this fight is difficult is not only because there's the whole bullshit dudes on the roof to your left randomly trying to kill you, but when you move forward, it triggers extra spawns that don't happen unless you move forward. And in any game where you have to trigger spawns, where you can die that quickly, it's kind of bullshit in my opinion. I'm also hoping too, as games develop and as we evolve in how we make them, that we can get away from these arbitrary triggers. I would love them to be more dynamic in ways, and they simply aren't. Like, you'll notice I ran down and then I ran back, and these two people have just decided to start doing whatever it is they weren't doing before. So we've ticked that arbitrary box, and now these people have turned up, and I can proceed to hopefully get some headshots here with the Uzi. And I don't really have a good weapon for distance right now. I have a shotgun, which not at all ideal, but you can still make it work, you know, if you're persistent enough. And I'm not too sure if you can use unlimited ammo on this game, because I think you can do that on the second one, where you put on those weird golden guns and they give you all kinds of crazy ammunition. But I'm sure that there'll be people that do that rather than play Brutal the way it was intended to be played, because the ammo is difficult. You know, Uncharted 4 was difficult because of the ammo, but it was only in very specific moments. This game, I never really had trouble with ammo at all. I think the ammo in this game is way more generous than it was in Uncharted 2. This could be 100% bullshit. It could be me remembering the halcyon, rose-tinted memories of that campaign, but I didn't have any moment where I was like, if I had more bullets here, I could win. Oh, shortcutted there because I'm paranoid. Another thing as well, guys, if you're wondering if I don't react to any kind of sound cues, wasn't using sound at this point. I was listening to, I think, DSP play No Man's Sky, and what an event that was. Not only did he not sell the game whatsoever, but he somehow managed to make the game seem even more uninteresting than I already thought it looked. which is no offense to the game, because I think if you like an exploring game and you want to do space and stuff, it's probably amazing. But I think it looks like watching fucking paint. So, there's your spawn. This is the next trigger. Bunch of guys gonna rush forward. You notice how when they're running, they don't shoot? You want to use this as an opportunity to shoot them. They also don't register the taking bullets. They're like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Raw Deal, which I think is bullshit. And I think the two laser dudes in the tower are the last enemies of this level. Of this fight. And you'll notice you don't even have to kill them, because I think Sully kills them, and then the music stops, and the fight's over. This is a pretty good moment on the game's part of telling us that the fight is over. It's not always this kind. There are times when it looks like it's over and you move forward and Johnny Tossbag in a corner shoots you instantly and kills you. So be very careful. I think for the third game in an entry, they would be better at communicating to the player when an encounter is over. Like, I think Drake should put his gun away. And I think he should never put his gun away if there's anything in that environment that can still kill you. And he does sometimes. So you have to be careful. You have to be very careful. Pay attention to the audio cues. Pay attention to what your friends say. Pay attention to the environment. And hopefully you don't get, bit in the balls. But it's happened to me a lot. Oop, there's a Mag 5. Pick that bad boy up. That's such a great gun. And then we can climb up here. And all you have to do now is it examining the face of that building so that we can go inside of it and fight good old Cutter, which I actually died on that fight, which is hilarious because none of the brutes killed me. Talbot never killed me, but Cutter did, so GG Cutter. Oh, Carter or whatever he's called, I can't remember his name. Overly English fella. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.